Hello everyone, I'm Paola Escalona, a real estate agent with ERA Brokers Consolidate, serving our beautiful city of Las Vegas. Today, I have the pleasure to interview Eran Loten, the founder of 5-Star STR, and his brother Zohar Loten. With over 20 years of entrepreneurial experience and over 4 years of running their company, 5-Star STR has been successfully helping property owners and guests enjoy beautiful stay in Las Vegas through Airbnb. Welcome, Eran. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi.
I would like you to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you start with your brother this project of managing Airbnb?
Sure. About 2016, we purchased our first property.
Okay.
And we decided to give it a shot as a gig. And that's what we did. We opened our first Airbnb. We took it very seriously. It took us a long time. We really invested a lot of energy in that. And we were surprised. We just did amazing. From I want to say probably an hour after it was on Airbnb, that's the only OTA, online travel agency, that we knew at that time. And we were booked. So we got really excited. We started learning more about it. But those were different times. Nowadays, it's a little bit different.
And how different?
I'll get to it later.
Okay. Now, Eran, for someone who is looking to buy a property and do an Airbnb, what will be the process for that person like?
Well, it really depends on his budget, of course. And if it's properly an investment or is he planning to stay at the property. It really depends. For example, I have a property owner. He's a businessman, and he comes up probably 4 to 6 times a year. And he purchased a property at the Palms Place. So while he's here, obviously it's not rented, but when he's out of town, it's rented out.
Okay.
This way, it covers a lot of his expenses. On the other hand, you have someone that purchased a 5-bedroom with a pool and a hot tub, and it's like a mini resort. And we added other stuff, and it became more like a reunion hub, or a company retreat, and it's a totally different story. You charge more, and the income and the revenues are a totally different thing.
What is the potential income of an Airbnb property investment?
The potential income?
Mm-hmm.
Well, vacation rental is a business like any other business. I like to compare it to a coffee shop. So imagine a coffee shop.
Okay.
In order for a coffee shop to be successful, what's the number one thing? Location. Same with vacation rental. Location is the most important thing. It has to be in the right location, meaning a safe neighborhood before anything. And if it's in Vegas, automatically I would say the strip area, but obviously that's what most people think, but one of my most successful properties is actually in North Las Vegas.
Okay.
So there are many reasons for location. It can be near a hospital, like a cancer treatment center. People would stay there while someone is hospitalized there. Insurance reasons. Sometimes people need a house. They had a flood in the house.
Oh.
Many reasons. After location, I would say the size of the property, number of bedrooms. The bigger the property, more people can stay. More people means they can divide the cost.
Exactly.
So you can make more money. After that is amenities. If the house has a pool, a hot tub, during summertime, imagine you're coming to Vegas with your family. Everybody wants a pool, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure.
So a pool, a hot tub, usually the adults want a hot tub. In some homes we have pickleball, we have basketball,
I saw one of your property have also a gym.
A gym, yeah.
Sauna.
Exactly. So we try to keep our guests at home so they don't really need to leave the property. And many of the feedbacks we get from the guests, they say we came and we didn't want to leave the property. They go to a show on the strip.
Wow.
And they go right back home. Within Las Vegas boundaries, some areas would have 40% occupancy, and some would even have 80%. It really changes. And I would say, let's say you have an investor. I actually had one just last week. He's calling me and he's asking, hey, I have a property, I'm considering investing. First thing, my first question is, do you have HOA? If they do have an HOA, I would suggest call the HOA, ask them if they allow it.
Okay.
90% of the time the answer would be no, but if they do, make sure you have it in writing. Next step, if you don't have an HOA or by some miracle they do allow it, there is a map, and you can check in the map if it's possible. Now each area in Vegas is different. Like Henderson, they have a map. You have to be 1,000 feet away from another vacation rental, registered vacation rental,
Okay.
or 2,500 feet away from a hotel. So actually, you can input the address. Later on, I'll give you the link. You can add the link.
Perfect, because that's going to be very handy for a lot of people.
Exactly, and people can check the addresses over there, and you can see. So no HOA, and the property is cleared from another vacation rental. Next step would be, is to see if the numbers make sense. If the purchase price and the income, how much work you have to do in the house, and that's where we usually come in. I like to help investors from step one. It's different from a regular purchase. It's complicated to explain people because sometimes a property is very weird and it doesn't make sense for a traditional purchase. But for Airbnb it would be great, like a house with many rooms, but would be maybe ugly. But for Airbnb it would be great. People don't plan on living there, they plan on enjoying their family. So it's a way how you create what you do.
It's a different perspective, like if you want an investment, so there is a different way you're going to look at the property, right?
Exactly. Like imagine, I know a property, they have a bathtub in the middle of the living room. Come on, that's crazy, but yeah.
But you're right, there is certain stuff that you say, like how people put that on there,
Yeah, it's all about social media nowadays,
Exactly.
People have those pictures.
Yes.
So yeah, for sure. Those are the main things I would suggest. These days I can really get you a revenue income projection for a property. Usually we try to be more
Conservative?
Conservative,
Yes.
That's the word I was looking for, yeah. I want to say mostly we pass the numbers by 10, 15, even 20% from those numbers, but I like to give this number and people are surprised because the numbers are pretty high. You can still do really good money on Airbnb, but you just need to know how to do it.
And there is a lot of question where you were mentioning all of that I want to touch base on. You mentioned that people wants to call you and talk a little bit about revenue, how much they can potentially make. Now, it's very well known that when you want to do Airbnb, you need to have a license, right? And that license comes after you own the property. Correct? There is a lot of homeowners that contact you about, hey, can you manage my property? And you find out sometimes that they actually cannot, right?
Yeah, many times.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
For sure. Many times I'm shocked. At first I was really surprised. People just call me, hi, I have a property, I just purchased it for Airbnb, I'm looking for a management company, what do you charge, what's your percentage? That's how they start the phone call. And we say, hey guys, hold your horses, let's see that kid can even get licensed, before. And they give me the address, usually I ask, do you have an HOA? And they say, yes, we do. And usually the call around that's where it stops. They are surprised. And now, say in some cases, people already know they cannot get it licensed, but they say, hey, I don't mind, I'll work until they shut me down. Some people do go this route as well.
Now, would you think that's wise to do? And I know that the fees, if they cut you, can be extremely high.
They can give you high fines. Now, another aspect with licenses, for instance, in Henderson, let's say you have a property and you say, what, I don't mind, I want to work without a license. You cannot even advertise yourself in Airbnb or VRBO. They're not going to show your property because they ask for the license while you onboard your property, and that pretty much blocks you in Henderson, in North Las Vegas, in the city of Las Vegas. Pretty much the only place is unincorporated Clark County.
Wow,
Yeah.
Very important information to know. Now, when we're talking about the cost of managing a property, what would you say? And I know it's hard because it's going to depend on how big or small the property is and how many amenities. But give and take, how much would be the cost of managing a property?
The main difference between a long term and a short term, obviously the income is much higher in a short term, and this is something I can easily show. Now,
what do you mean is true? You can cut that.
Most cases, you'll show me a property. If it's either long term or short term, Short-term meaning Airbnb, vacation rental, most of the time vacation rental will do much better. When I'm conservative, it does, I want to say 1.5 times. Okay, so if you're getting 4,000 rent, you'll do 6,000 rent income. And that's very conservative. Numbers are much better, but that's if you know what you're doing. And these days, the game is different. Now, when I mean the game is different, I like to compare it to Amazon. I don't know if you remember, but there was days in Amazon, every person you knew had a store, right? Each person had a store, and everybody was doing great.
Yes.
Slowly, it became harder and harder and harder, and many people just left Amazon, and only the sharks, only the big companies, the experienced ones, people that kept on learning, stayed in the loop, only they are still successful in Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say the same happened with Airbnb. It started very easily. In 2016, 2017, you open a property, and you go online, you're rented. People did, people had hundreds of properties. People just opened and made great money.
Especially in the pandemic, that nobody wants to stay where there is a lot of crowd.
Pandemic is example before the pandemic, but it changed. Nowadays it's much harder, and a lot of people are leaving the business. And I want to say the main reason is because they don't know what they're doing. And the number one tool these days is called revenue management. I'd love to explain more, maybe next time when you have more time.
Yes.
But I can just tell you, revenue management is the biggest tool these days to succeed on vacation rentals in Airbnb. And I'll just explain quickly. For example, we take your property.
Mm-hmm.
We look at it and we say, hey, why you're not renting? First, we make sure your listing looks good, the pictures are great. Next would be pricing. It's not only about high price or low price because there's an event in town. It's much more than that. Usually we look for 10 to 20 properties that are exactly like your property. Now, it's not exactly to apple, but pretty close. You have 4 bedrooms with a pool, with a hot tub, a nice backyard, and about the same area.
So you do like a market analysis of
exactly, and we look, and then I see, and those 10 I keep on following. That's one of the things I do, and then I see, wow, out of the 10, all of them are already booked, and your property is not. What's going on? Okay, look at your price. You're $200 a night more expensive than them. That's an example. Or you see they are starting to get booked, for example, and you're not at all, so you understand you're a little bit high. That's one of the tools we use. And it just leaves so much money on the table when you don't know those tools. I can tell you, I have people that came to me and they tell me, look, that's all we do. We have like 30% occupancy rates, and they tell me sometimes it's considered a good month. And after 3 months working with us, we're getting closer to 65%.
Occupancy rate?
Occupancy.
Wow.
Yeah. Imagine how much money is left on the table. So now going back to the expenses. Obviously, you have mortgage in both. If you have the property, you have mortgage in both cases.
Mm-hmm.
Main difference: a renter would pay for most of the utilities. He won't pay for HOA, but anyway, you're not supposed to have HOA. So utilities are going to be much higher, and they're going to cost much higher for when you own a Airbnb, a vacation rental.
Mm-hmm.
Insurance: you have to have insurance. Property management, I recommend. I just think it's you have to look at it as an expense, but also
it's an investment kind
investment. You're not really, if you have a good company, you don't need to do anything pretty much after, and it's just an income, a business you purchased, and you're enjoying it. You have the permit cost annually to pay. Marketing, if you want to market your property in other places, if you don't know what you're doing, it can get really, really high. If you know what you're doing, you don't throw your money. You know where to
put the money.
Where to advertise. I like to start in Airbnb, and after a few months go into Booking.com, VRBO, and to be in as many places as I can be.
Okay. So, and I believe you answered this question already, but why would you say it would be the biggest difference between you and your competitors?
Well, a few things. First of all, we're a boutique company. A lot of the competition are national companies. They tell you, they talk to you as like they are boots on the ground, but they don't. We are actually boots on the ground in this area. We know the city in and out. I personally live here 20 years. I have family and kids here. We aim at 5 stars, that's the name of the company, 5-star STR. We actually have a guarantee. If we do not get a 5-star from a guest that stayed at the properties that we manage, if a guest stayed that didn't leave a 5-star, left a 4-star, we do not take commission.
Or what would you say is the big difference between short-term rental and long-term rentals? A lot of people thinking, probably it's easier to go long-term rental than go through all the process of getting the license and you don't know if you're going to get approved with short-term rental. But what would you say is the difference between both of them?
Well, definitely it's much easier to go the long-term rentals. It's less job, but much less income.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it with a vacation rental management company and they go with you from the beginning, that's what we do. We just give you our hand and support you all the way through the process, from getting the license, helping you with the design, and getting you out there rented. Then it's not so hard. We like to call it hands-free management, and it's hands-free for the owner because the owner doesn't really need to do anything. Yes, there is a part of getting the license. He needs to be involved in that part, but not too much. It's mainly, sitting on the computer and answering a few questions, and it depends on him how much he wants to be involved, if he wants to be more involved or less involved.
Okay, so I get a lot of clients that they call me and they want to, invest in Airbnb, and I think right now you just answer a lot of those questions. So I really appreciate you taking the time to give us a little more information about what is Airbnb, to navigate the process with us and to ease I believe the stress of everybody that wants to start the business. But before we wrap up, I would like you to, if you can, share with us the biggest takeaway of owning an Airbnb business.
Okay. Actually, there are many, but
it's okay, you can say many.
The latest one would be revenue management.
Okay.
It's actually, it's kind of funny because I heard a podcast. And I remember as we were talking to one of the guys there, and he said, I have a few hundred properties, and he asked, and I think the guy, the host, asked him, what is one thing you feel like, he asked me, that you would do differently if you started now?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, revenue management. So for sure, what he said, I totally agree with that. It's super important. It's super complicated, I can tell you that. But it's unbelievable what it does to it's not only for vacation rental, it's also for hotels, by the way, but that's super important. Another thing would be, I personally love that. I did a lot of businesses in my life, and I can tell you I really enjoy the hospitality business. And if you don't enjoy people, if you don't like people, that's not the business for you. You have to enjoy it, you have to like it. It's a lot of customer service involved with logistics, so you have to enjoy and like to help people, solve situation it's a lot of all the time solving stuff while keeping the client happy.